Hi, everybody. My name's Eden, and welcome to Sports for All podcast. Today, I've got another great guest. So, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes, of course. Thank you. I'm Natalia. I'm 19. I'm from Brazil. I am a writer, researcher, educational activist, and many other things as well. But I focus mainly on education and activism surrounding that. I have an initiative called the Aurora Institute, focused on providing activities and extracurricular opportunities to students that don't have access to that in their own schools. And I hope to be able to share a little bit of my experience relating sports and academia today.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's so exciting to have you. I cannot wait to have such a great conversation.
It's an honor to be here.
So, my first question is, do you want to tell me about kind of your involvement being with sports in the past and what are common sports like in your country that young people get involved in?
Sure. I personally have this closer contact with sports in the academic side. I personally think that there are many ways for you to interact with sports, not necessarily just practicing. So I'm more on the academic side, maybe even engineering, research, design, and these sorts of things. But I've practiced a lot throughout my life. I remember really liking the more active sports like dodgeball and stuff that made me think and move a lot. And here in Brazil, of course, it's a big classic. We are very known for soccer, even though I'm not super familiar. I don't really watch much, but people love it here, and it certainly is a very rich sport, and it is really striking to see always to see people practice and to see how important it is not only to your body and to your mind, but to culture as well. And yeah, I think that's how I perceive sports in my own experience.
That is so interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah, I totally agree. I think you can definitely come at it from different aspects. Like, you don't necessarily have to be involved and be practicing in it. I mean, you can have your own podcast, like I do, for example, or you can focus more on the educational aspect and like the skills and that kind of thing. So my next question is, do you want to tell us a bit about like your social action education projects that you've been involved in?
Of course. It does relate to sport a little bit as well when it comes to academic research. As I mentioned before, among other things, I lead the Aurora Institute, right? A student organization that is focused on bringing new opportunities to people that don't really have access to it in their own schools. And it was born really from being able to perceive this lack of access and this distance between talent and opportunity in my own community and in communities from people that I know in my country and in Latin America. And I realized that there are so many people willing to go further, but not really knowing how. And then I thought that this opportunity, this community could be a really good thing to bring everything together and to help people develop their skills and their passions. And we currently offer a bunch of activities, including academic research mentoring and tutoring and a debate club and stuff like that. And it's really nice to group so many people with so many different interests, but such a high rate of curiosity and dedication because everyone learns from everyone. And it's truly a beautiful thing. There's actually a couple students in our research program looking into the relationship between physical education and student performance in high school. So this is super cool as well. As I said, we can always look at different perspectives within sports and physical education. You can always, even if you are not the most active person, you can still be interested in sports and explore it in different ways that might be more familiar or more fulfilling, right? To your own ideas and your own objectives.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I think that's like an amazing piece of work that you're doing and like you're interesting. And I think the people that you're working with probably are getting a lot of benefit out of like being involved in it different ways. And like there's so much opportunity out there and just like having that space to kind of explore that's really important.
Mhm. Yeah, that I truly believe that that makes such a difference. I imagine myself if I didn't have the guidance that I was so lucky to have when I was just starting, and realizing that so many people don't really have that is really what pushed me to start this. And it is really clear how education can simply change someone's life. So I really think that if you have the opportunity to do something, you should absolutely always go for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. That is such a good piece of advice. You know, absolutely something to definitely live by. So my next question is, what are some of your biggest inspirations, both within sport but also outside of sport?
So I think one thing that really intrigues me about the I mean, sports culture in general, like the universe of practicing sports is really as I said before, also the connection to culture, right? How it is so much more than simply being active and helping your body and doing something for yourself. It has centuries of culture and it teaches so much. I think it's just like unforgivable the feeling that you have when you watch your country competing for something, and it's the sense of community, this sense of family almost. It's something that really goes way beyond doing something for your health or just for the sake of being active, and this sense of worldwide collaboration as well, because when it comes to such big events like the World Cup or the Olympiads, for example, um, it's not just the athletes that are there. There are reporters, there's media, there are programmers working on an app for you to be able to rewatch stuff that you might have missed because of the time zones, for example. There were engineers working on the density and the type of fiber that was used in the ribbons of the gymnasts. um, there were different designs and different technologies involved in the runner's shoes in a different ball for basketball, for example. So the whole world is collaborating for this gigantic cultural phenomenon, and it's really nice to see. It's something that really brings everyone together in times when we really need this sense of collaboration, this sense of peace, right, between communities and between ideas. It's really a beautiful thing, and that inspires me a lot. Just this idea of connecting science to sport, to culture, all of this connection is really cool to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that connection aspect is so important and it just brings people together from all parts of the world, like no matter what your age is, your background. It's just so powerful, really, isn't it?
Exactly. And just to complete your question, thinking also outside of the world of sports, I still really cling to this idea of connection and community because not a lot can be done completely alone, I think. And in academia especially, there is this whole idea that academics are people that just work by themselves, and there's this like wild competition between who's going to publish it first and this whole thing. But what really matters and what really happens is just a gigantic group of people trying to make the world a better place with their own talents and their own passion. Every person has their own way of contributing, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And my thing might be maths and geometry and stuff like that, and astrophysics even, but other people have their own ways of doing this and collaborating as well. sports are an amazing example, right? Just as we were talking about, there is everything going on from journalism to engineering. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's what truly inspires me, being part of this greater thing, being able to do something good and driving everyone forward, inspiring other people to do better than I did, inspiring younger people, younger generations to go farther.
Yeah, that is incredible. Yeah, I so agree. I think it's so important for other young people to look and learn from your own experiences as well and make that positive impact and change. That is incredible. Thank you so much. Great answer. So my next question is, what skills do you think are important when you're getting involved in sport, and what maybe skills have you learned or other young people that you know have learned, and how have they helped you in getting involved in academia or in life in general?
Mhm. So that's a really interesting question because it involves the physical area of sports and the intellectual area of sports, but in the same person, right? It divides a little bit from the example that we were talking about before, where a group of people are on the side of working with design and with engineering. Then there are other groups of people with different sides of expertise. And then there are the athletes working in this big event and this big community. But when it comes to sports and being active in general, physical education, impacting your own sense and your own performance in academia, I can think of a couple of things because sports, they require strategy, right? There is this big
Yeah.
stereotype that people that are super focused in sports, they tend to not perform super well academically, but that is quite the opposite of what happens because sports have been proven really to help with many how do I say this? Many facets of cognitive ability, like
Yeah.
from memory and attention to reducing anxiety, reducing behavioral issues. So it is really something that is going to help you more than not, obviously. So thinking of when like your own person is practicing sport, personally, I think it helped me a lot with teamwork. One thing, especially when I was younger, when I was like in middle school, that's kind of one of the biggest objectives of having physical education in schools, teaching kids to work together. Quick thinking and problem solving, like in dodgeball, as I mentioned before, like you need to think where to go, you need to imagine your opponent, let's say in quotation marks, moves,
Yeah.
and you need to kind of just be a couple steps ahead and strategize. So that's such a unique form of exercising these types of skills, especially with children because they are super engaged in sports. If you go to like a middle school or younger, you're probably gonna hear physical education as the favorite subject for like a big amount of kids. They are probably going to say that that's one of their favorite ways to learn because it's different and it's very easy to personalize, let's say. You can bring a lot of your own perspective, your own ways to do things, because usually, at least in my experience, your PE teacher is not going to say you need to do this type of strategy. You need to think like this. You kind of automatically just start building your own path.
Yeah.
And this type of creative and intellectual freedom, I personally think, is one of the most important things in education by far, and is one of the things that I really want to foster with the Aurora Institute. Give permission and give freedom to students, for students to choose their own path. If they want to study the most specific thing in the world, they will be able to. There is going to be a mentor that will help them do research about it. I think that really brightens and enhances your way of looking at the world and even confidence. Even your own confidence is increased by this ability of personalizing your path inside of academia and inside of education. I think that's awesome. And as I said, teamwork as well, collaboration is really important, and even leadership also.
Yeah.
It really brings out that leader in you in a way that might not appear inside the classroom. So that's also something that I think I gathered from my own experience in sports. And all of this stuff really impacts you because after you gather all of that from your more active experience, you can apply that anywhere else. So, leadership, teamwork, problem solving, all of that, without even thinking about the physical advantages and everything that just being active and healthy is going to bring to you. That is also going to help like a lot with academic performance, memory, attention, all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you can just learn so much, and like at the time you don't realize like you're learning all these things, but they really like translate into so many different aspects of your life. No, those are some really good examples. Thank you so much. So,
You're
my
welcome.
next question is, what are some barriers and challenges that young people face, in getting involved in sport? And do you have any advice for helping them to overcome these barriers?
When it comes to young people in schools, I always think of representation
Yeah.
and inclusion, especially when it comes to physical disability or learning disability and gender discrimination as well, because there is this line, right? You can treat everyone the exact same way, but which is also obviously the ideal, right? But some people can have, in big, big quotation marks, disadvantages, right? It can be perceived um, by a teacher as a sort of disadvantage, and that can lead to difference in treatment that is not always welcome, and that can feel belittling, that can feel unnecessary, that can make this student see themselves in a disadvantaged position, which is a very harmful point of view, I think personally. And it
Yeah.
really can put this person in a bad spot for the future because all of these incredible advantages that you could take from practicing sports if there was a community that could welcome people that have certain disabilities or welcome the differences in men's and women's sport without discrimination, it would be so different because all of these advantages are lost if this person is just going to feel like less or like they cannot enjoy it as much because of something that is out of their control. And it is really damaging to think when to think about how many people are affected by this and to even think about personal experiences in the sense that I've had close people like students from my school and from other schools that I work with through the Aurora Institute having people say that sometimes the coach or the teacher teaches one specific sport to the boys and one specific sport to the girls because girls shouldn't play a certain thing or boys shouldn't play a certain thing. And it is really not ideal, right? Obviously. Or
Yeah.
even teach the same thing, but with less intensity for the female identifying students because they might not be able to deal with the intensity of such sports, which is not it. It's a very damaging belief to have in general.
Yeah, I totally
Um,
agree. I think there's so many, the gender disparities is such a big thing, and I think in some places it gets better. There's more awareness of that and more like coaches and teachers trying to break down those barriers and make sure that girls have the same opportunities as boys. But as you were saying, in a lot of places, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done with it.
And I really think that if that is not solved before anything else, all the advantages and everything that you can, like everything good that you can take from these experiences that we were just talking about, it is going to fade away and it's not going to have the same impact that it could have if people could just enjoy things without these barriers that we as human beings just put there that could not be there, right? Because it was put by ourselves there. So there's that, right? I do think that it is a big thing to think about as well, something that needs to be addressed on top of everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. There there definitely needs to be more work done, and I think having these conversations is so important in all
Mm.
different settings, like education settings, youth clubs, within sports clubs. Trying to open that conversation is so important. My last question is, what advice would you give to a young person wanting to get involved in sport, but who might not have the confidence to do so?
I think the two biggest things that have kind of become one thing that I would like to say is explore all facets of sports and start with the little things. Like, don't, I think people shouldn't go straight to the first thing that appears. Like, maybe your coach or your PE teacher just says, this is the path, this is what you should do. Go and let's now start this sport, and this is the way to learn physical education and the way to be active and the way to explore sports. I think students should, even if their own environment, if school or anywhere else doesn't really make that clear, I think students should feel free to explore the different facets of sports and to notice and realize that it's not, as we were saying, it's not exclusively about practicing sports, but you can also be the reporter that is showing a competition to the whole world. You can also be the engineer that made the shoes that are going to be used in the next Olympics. You can be the coach that is going to train a group of athletes for a competition. You can be anywhere within those categories. You can even go to biology, to the medical side of sports, and specialize in something that is going to get you closer to this area. I think the biggest thing is open up your possibilities and your horizons and look at all the options and explore it with all your heart. Learn to absolutely love everything that you do and inspire others to go farther and to also see these new opportunities, these new experiences, and always be open to learn and teach other people too.
That is such an incredible piece of advice, and something that is so important. And I think, yeah, a lot of young people will take a lot away from that, especially those who maybe aren't able to do sport at this moment in time. Like, there's so many opportunities out there to still be
Mm,
involved
exactly.
and use the love that you have for it in different ways. Thank you so much.
Oh,
It's been so great to have you on and sharing your experiences and insight, and I think that the people listening are going to really enjoy it. So thank you so much.
thank you. It was amazing to be here. It was a great experience. I really, really cherish this. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So, if anyone in our audience is interested in our activities and everything that we provide, you can learn more at aurorainstitutebrazil.com or at our Instagram, aurora_institute_Brazil. And you can take a look at everything that we do. And really, it was incredible to be here. I really hope that my experience and all that I was able to provide about this big connection between academia and sports was great, was a good thing for our audience, and I really hope that I was able to enhance everyone's experiences and everyone's perspectives. Thank you again.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for coming on. And I will definitely like put a link to the institute as well in the description so people can check it out. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It would be great if you could give it a follow and if you could give it a rating. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne or on X at Eden71003.